Before I get started, I want to pass out a few handouts. When I say a few, I mean a lot. So just take one of each. Take one of each.
So what's the surprise that these meetings up?
This backwards, it's the same thing. This is the same.
If you get them all mixed up, that's okay.
There's a chair here.
Oh, thank you.
Take one and pass it on.
Yep.
What's this, another one?
We got this one. Yeah. We haven't got this
Okay, so it looks like everyone's, for the most part, received some of the flyers that I put out. So I'm ready. So, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about fly fishing, as you can see from the handouts I've passed out. I actually thought I was pretty good at fishing because when I was younger, my family and I each summer would go camping to Bass Lake, and we would go regular fishing, or spin fishing as it's called. And one day when I was about eight or nine, I can't remember, my dad sent my mom and myself off to the side to look at a bunch of really big rainbow trout in the lake. And he didn't want us to be near him and my sister because they were doing the real fishing and we were going to be loud and scare them. But little did he know, about 10 minutes later, I ended up catching the biggest fish that anyone in my family has yet to catch. And it was about this big. I don't have a picture of it today, but so you have to trust me that it was this big. It probably gets bigger each time I tell the story. And it was a beautiful rainbow trout, and we ended up eating it for dinner that evening. And so since then I thought I must be pretty good at fishing, but it's been several years since I've actually gone fishing. And my dad asked me when I moved back here if I'd like to go with him to the Diablo Valley Fly Fishers Club, which is here in Walnut Creek, and it's apparently one of the best fly fishing clubs in all of the United States. I thought, okay, sure, I'll go. It's great to be back by my family and be close to each other, and sure, I can do this with my dad. And I went to one of the meetings and was pretty blown away by some of the trips that you could do in Montana and all these different places where they have beautiful scenery, and just seemed like something that you kind of sit back and really enjoy, and you're just casting around. I thought, sure, I'm kind of lazy, so that sounds good to me. And then my dad had me sign up for a class, and little did I know that my sister and my mom also took the class and hated it, and they didn't like it. Nobody told me that. So I took the class about a month ago and learned a lot about fly fishing and how technical the sport actually is. So I thought it'd be great to share that with you who may not know as much about fly fishing or would like to learn a little bit more about it. So before I tell you some more about fly fishing, how many of you here are fly fisher, men or women? Great, okay, so 2 of you here are. And have any of you tried fly fishing? Okay. Did you like it?
Yeah, it was fun.
So for the rest of you, have you tried regular fishing?
Yeah, I'm a spinner.
Okay, spin fishing. So Just tell you a little bit about fly fishing. For those of you who already know, you can critique me later because I'm a novice. So I'm excited about the sport, but there's a lot to learn. So first I just wanted to tell you, for some of you who may not know, what are some of the differences between fly fishing and the so-called regular spin fishing. And basically, spin fishing, from what I've learned, is more results driven. It's trying to catch a lot of fish. And you're mainly casting out a weighted lure, which you can also use live bait, and in fly fishing, you don't use live bait whatsoever. And they said, I was told not to ask the question, why don't you use live bait? Because that's apparently the dumbest question to a fly fisherman. So with fly fishing, it's more technical. It's about really just casting and recasting this dry fly or nymph, which is like a larva of a bug or an insect. And also, so it's a lot about the technique of casting to try to make it so that it looks like your little fly looks like a real insect. So you're kind of pretending that you're a real insect trying to catch that fish. And from what I've also learned, it's typically trout. And so being in California, we have some of the best trout in the world, trout fishing in the world. And there was a study recently that showed that trout, all the trout worldwide actually originated from California, Northern California. So we have such a great advantage to be in the California area. There's quite a lot of other differences that are very minor in terms of like equipment and line. There's different line type. There's just quite a bit of information about that, but that's some of the basics. So what do you want to know next is maybe some of the gear. So behind me, I have quite a lot of gear, and there's a lot more. So this sport is more expensive as well than spin fishing, so this may also be why typically the individuals who engage in this are older, maybe retired. They're able to go onto the river when it's not crowded by all the rest of us. And you'll have a hat to protect you from the sun. You'll have a pole that will help you to not slip, and this is actually really required. It will attach onto you. So you look quite dumb going out there with a vest, with all the equipment, a pole, and special netting, special flies, which I'll talk about in a minute. So next is, how do you catch the fish? Well, you need to look at what type of bugs are in the area. What you'll do oftentimes is go under a rock and check what kind of bugs are here. And I've passed out some flyers of some bugs. There's 3 main ones, which are the caddis, the stonefly, and the mayfly. And you can have a nymph, for the caddisfly, it's a larva, pupa, and then it turns into an adult. So for me, I hate bugs, and I didn't realize that a lot of this sport is about knowing what kind of bugs are out there. So you can take a look at that later and know, but it's also, you'll want to know, like, what are some of the hatch charts, what periods do they come out in what months, and to ask a local fly shop. So there's a lot involved in knowing what kind of size the bugs are, the shape, and then the color. And then I'll tell you a little bit about the casting technique, which I'll show you now. So this is a sample rod that you can practice. I actually got a blister on my thumb from just practicing, which is really sad. But basically you want to act like it's a phone, and then put the phone down. So you're trying to keep your elbow close, and then put your line out so that it looks like a real bug landed on the water. And the line gets thinner toward the end. And so you'll do this in a stream, and the water will carry it along. So it takes a lot of practice as well, but it's more technical in that sense. And then lastly is more about finding fish. And there's whole guides about different trout fishing in California. And I passed out a map that showcases some of the best fish in this map here. It shows you where some of the native trout in California are located and what types of trout they are. And I believe you also have some information about basic trout in California on the other side of that. It's a smaller version of this. that just kind of talks about some of the trout there. So if you're interested to connect with a family member and get out there in the wild of California and enjoy nature, I highly suggest that you come and join me at the Diablo Valley Fly Fishers to learn more, and also look at some of the papers that I gave you, and we can all go out together if you want, or just go enjoy with your family. But we have some of the best trout and fishing waters here in California. Thank you.